RPS. Live from Primavera Sound 2022. Proudly presented by Cupra.
We are still here in Radio Primavera Sound chatting with anyone who comes across and wants to talk in our studio. Now we have here one of my unmissable gigs of the whole Primavera Sound 2022 lineup. From Providence, Rhode Island, from the legendary noise duo Lightning Ball, Brian Chippendale. How are you?
I'm doing great. Am I close enough to this thing? Far? Close?
You're good.
Yeah, you're good.
You're good.
I feel great.
Are you good with your tech? Like you have home recording studio equipment?
I'm so bad with my tech. I'm terrible, but I do it. I have a cassette 4-track at home, and I record all of our practices on cassette 4-track.
How many practices do you have now in archive? Do you know?
So many.
All of them in cassette.
On cassette, like little cassette. Like
Yeah.
Yeah, I have so many. A couple things have snuck onto records. Earthly Delights was a record that has a few cassette recordings on it. Like a couple songs are from the cassettes, just like cool jams that, kind of we couldn't repeat.
So your last album was on 2019.
Yeah.
But
Sonic Citadel.
You could release any of those cassettes and make an album too.
I know. There's so much. It's like we're so busy playing. I also do a lot of solo stuff, so I'm playing solo a lot. Like I've been putting cassette solo stuff. During COVID, I started trying to put stuff up on Bandcamp. So that's something I've been doing. A lot of times, like we're playing so much, it's hard to have time to listen. So we just just pile up cassettes.
Because playing your style of music must be a lot of fun, but do you enjoy listening to your own music?
Funny enough, I do. But you know what? I enjoy listening to the practices more than the album. I listen to the cassettes. I'm the only one. It's just for me. I listen to the cassettes, and then everyone else gets like the albums, which are like the songs played the way they're supposed to be played or whatever. But the cassettes are just like all over the place, and so I'm into that.
And the other Brian Gibson, does he enjoy listening to the demos?
He doesn't listen to any of it. He doesn't listen to the albums or the demos.
But is it also a way of like correcting things that are you looking for a perfection as a drummer or a performer?
Oh no, I mean, no. I'm not looking for. I'm just looking to like become tired. That's my goal as a drummer, and to produce like interesting things. But like, why do I prefer one over the other or something? Is that?
Well, no, like for instance, you know how Japanese sushi masters always work for perfection for their entire lives, and that's the way they become so good, because they always feel that it's never perfect. The work is never done.
Right.
So I thought, is that kind of mindset where? Are you one of those drummers that is like, no, it's still not perfect. It's still not. You have like an ideal that's just unreachable.
I'm so far from that. I'm like the opposite kind of drummer. I'm just like, all right, I'm going to sit down. I'm just going to like throw my arms around as fast as I can. And like, maybe I'll find something new. And if I do something cool, I'm not going to do it. I won't even repeat it. I don't even like, usually when I play, like if I do something rad, I don't suddenly stop, think about it, dissect it, and sort of do it again and make it perfect. I usually just be like, that's awesome. And then I move on. Like I'm just always sort of moving forward, and every once in a while, I kind of reflect and like steer the ship towards perfection. But I'm usually just sort of on some weird ride that leads nowhere near perfection.
And how do you keep track of everything you've recorded?
I just have I either put a lightning bolt on the tape and then a date, or I put like or I write pus, because it's black pus is my soul thing. So that's how I keep track. And then I have shelves, and I like put the stuff on shelves.
And are you aware now of like the value of things that haven't been released, and even like that by the end, when you're an old man, that stuff will have so much value because you captured a moment in time? Are you aware of that?
I am an old man.
No, but you know what I mean. Like when you get to, we were talking about Bots. When you,
well, for sure. I mean, I sometimes think that like, okay, sometime later on, like maybe when we'll stop playing so much or something, and I'll have time to reflect on this stuff or go through it, or like after I die, like somebody else can go through this stuff and like fish out good parts. And I know, and I have like, sometimes I kind of know, I've like listened to stuff and mixed some stuff down and made notes, and I know where some good stuff is, and I know there's like masterpieces and like hidden gems. So it's an archive for sure that Like I think Sonic Youth just put a record out or something recently.
Yeah, about an archive
And
of only demos.
Right, an archive. So I mean that possibility is there. It's a little harder when you're in a 2-piece band because it's like there's no tiebreaker vote. Like, hey, we should start releasing the archive. And the other guy's like, nah. And then you're
That's
like,
it. End of discussion.
okay, yeah, I'll ask again next year.
Was the plan always to be a duo, or was it just a circumstance? Like there was just the two of you who were invested in this ambition of creating this wonderful sound.
It was just kind of the circumstance just sort of came around that way. We started as a duo in 1994. We played, I think, one show as a duo, and then we got a singer for a year and a half. This guy Hisham Barucha, who went on to be the drummer in Black Dice, which is a great band from the States. And then he left that, and now he does something called Soft Circle and a bunch of other stuff. But so Hisham was in the band for a year as a singer, and it was fun. It was cool, but it was like we were in college, and he would like go home for the summer. He'd go to Japan for the summer, and we'd be like, we'd just be sitting around Providence. So we sort of just kept going and came up with an identity without him, and then we split away. And then, at that point, we just stuck to two. I don't know. In the beginning, it was sort of like we enjoyed the simplicity of two, and we still do. But now in the beginning, I feel like it actually sounded more minimal, and it was just like, okay, this is a duo band and they're minimal. And now we're like a duo band and it's kind of like less minimal. It's, it sounds like sounds pretty much like a full rock band to me.
Talking about this evolution that you've been playing since '94, and you were both alone, don't you get tired of each one?
Do I get tired
of each other? Of you and the other.
Yeah, you would think so. Oh my God. I mean, we have gotten tired of each other for sure over the years. There's been periods of like, let's take a year off or a year and a half off. Or we just don't, I don't know, we just don't even make a decision. We just don't see each other for a while.
Organically.
Organically. It's a little baffling that we're still together. Something about it's like one of my oldest serious relationships. Like I've been hanging out with Brian Gibson, but I've been married for 10 years and been with my wife for like 20 years, but I've been with Brian Gibson for longer.
Yeah, that happens, isn't it? It's like with us, with our our work colleagues. We've been together more hours sometimes than with our partners and stuff. And it's this kind of dynamic. But they always say two's company, three's a crowd. No, there's that kind of saying. Like maybe if it would have been a 3-piece, tensions would have arisen and you would have had someone mediating. I don't know.
Maybe. But also like 2 is like paralysis and 3's decision making sometimes. That's that whole like, should we release the archive? Should we not release the archive? You want to take a left at this turn? You want to take a right? Left, right. Stop. So I don't know, but somehow we figured it out. We used to be kind of aggro.
Yeah.
Like I would play for like 10 minutes and be like, that riff sucks. And you'd be like, oh. And you just sort of shut down. And then I don't know, somehow we got through that time. And now now we just play for 10 minutes. I'm just like, I'm tired. And we're like, cool.
Do you notice that with the age? Do you notice that you have to like keep a bit of a kind of a training routine to keep in shape for tours like when you come here?
I would think so, but I actually feel great. I don't know. I'm kind of baffled by it. We've been playing like an hour a night, and aside from my like the skin of my hands peeling off, just a little bit. Aside from that, I feel great. I don't understand. I'm 48, and I'm like, I feel fucking great.
You look younger. You there's a fire in your eyes. There's
I also get really wound up when I'm like in front of this invisible glass that no one can see through. I get to watch all these people.
That's a mirror, in fact. No.
Let's talk about Primavera Sound. I mean, can you remember how many times you've played this festival?
I can. We've played it once.
It's the first time.
No,
you played.
Shut up.
No, we haven't played yet. This will be our second time.
Yeah.
But we played it once. I don't remember.
2008.
I think last time you visited Barcelona was in 2015, maybe, when you were touring.
Wait, did I forget one?
The Fantasy Empire tour, I think.
I'm sure you played more than this one and another one. I'm sure. I remember my friends from my other musician friends, like everyone losing their shit.
I'm not sure we've played. I mean, maybe I'm having a gap, but I remember playing at Primavera and we played on this like huge stage, and there were like a fucking shit ton of people, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of people. And people were like, are you nervous? Because we usually play in like at that time, and still today, it's just be like in a some weird basement junk shop with like 150 people or whatever, and they're like, "There's 5,000 people here. Are you nervous?" And I was kind of like, I'm not any more nervous. I'm not any more nervous. I'm actually like psyched. I think I actually like playing in front of a ton of people because our music, like, you can't make mistakes. I mean, you kind of can, but it's just like if I get nervous and I play too fast, it's just like crazier music, which in my mind is like an accomplishment.
But there's also an element that the thing about lightning bolt gigs is that you always prefer to perform in the round, like surrounded by the audience and everyone circling around you. Whereas in a Primavera or a festival, you have to be on stage.
Yeah.
Was that a bit of a bummer for you guys?
Originally, yeah, it was a change because I think that was one of the first times we'd ever played on the stage. Maybe like we just started, had begun to do that whenever that was, the first like 2008 or something. And yeah, it was pretty weird. But again, I kind of loved it. I was like, wow, people can actually like see us play. Like usually it's kind of we're playing and it was this event. Like, there's some, half the people in the room were like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I think there's a band playing, but everyone seems psyched and it's like loud and people are spinning around or something. But then suddenly we went up on stage and it was like, oh wow, they're like pretty good. They're not just like complete anarchists. They're actually like playing some tunes. And I'm kind of like, I like people watching me spin my arms around and stuff. So I'm into both. I think they both have different value. I mean, there's nothing better than playing like in a small room with a bunch of people on top of you. I'm waving and I'm talking at the same time. Check it out, trained monkey.
I mean, it's not difficult for you. You're the
check
drummer
it out. It's
and
just
you're
like
a
I'm doing
singer.
one. Yeah, I do this all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Wave to everybody.
It is a special skill set, being ambidextrous and being able to sing at the same time. I mean, Phil Collins does it, and you do it. And okay, there are more singing drummers. No, Sergi, you're the
Me and Phil Collins, really.
You and Phil Collins. But did you ever try to sort of impose that on festivals? Like, could we play in the round? Like, could you create a situation for us where we could?
We used to do it like the old ATP festivals.
Yeah.
Which we played like a lot. We would always play in the round. So, like Sonic Youth would play and then we'd play after them in the round, like in the middle of like 1,000 people.
Ooh.
And it would be a mess, but it would be awesome. And then also we would solve it by like, okay, we'll play in the morning in the crowd somewhere, and we'll play in the afternoon in the crowd somewhere, and then we'll play like in the evening in the crowd somewhere. So like over the course of the festival, a certain amount of people get to see it, So it's sort of like we like almost franchise ourselves, like just sort of, I don't know, small shows played more often. But it's so much effort. It was so much effort. So and then I don't know, I really did at some point in our career or whatever, I started to be more sensitive towards the like shorter people in the crowd and like the people that didn't want to sort of battle their way to the front. And now we really weigh whether it's going to be stage or if it's going to be floor, just show to show. So if it's small enough, if it's like 200 people or 250 people, we'll try to play on the floor. And if it goes up from there, we usually try to play up on the stage or something.
I mean, imagine there must be inconveniences with being in like the cables and stuff. Like if you're playing a venue and there's like 200 people, it can get chaotic. Have you ever had those situations where people, moshing and stuff, like pull out plugs and?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, amps falling on our head.
Oh yeah, chaos.
There was
Beers
one
on your-
chaos. It was one. I mean, one of my favorite shows. Again, it's sort of amazing no one ever really got hurt. I mean, a little bit hurt maybe, but we played in LA and we were on this. This was a million years ago, like 20 years ago. We were on this tour called the Oops Tour, which was with the Locust. It was like just a bunch of weirdo bands. Like Wolf Eyes was on some shows, and this band Erebon Radar from Providence. It was like a lot of these strange shows from that time, or strange bands from that time period. These kind of like bands that didn't really fit together, but they shoved them together. But we played in LA, and it was just like super chaotic. So I don't know, a little bit into our set, like my floor tom went off that way into the crowd, and my like little toms went off that way into the crowd. And there was like a kid like wrapped around the snare drum stand. So I had one kid holding that, and enough people around the kick drum, so it didn't go anywhere. So that's all I had left, and the cymbals mounted on the kick drum. So I was just playing those two things, and then. I don't know how long we got, but at some point Gibson just holds up his bass, and someone had like torn the cable out of his bass, and then with that had come like a lot of the insides, like the guts of the bass. And we were like, thank you, we're done.
That's over.
You killed the show.
Yeah, but we got through. We've never been like at that point we were never defeated by the crowd, or like too early. Like we got through enough of the set where it was like it was a full show.
Yeah.
And I mean, I miss that. Like you can't. It doesn't get better than that, but it also is awesome to just be like a rock band that plays, like has working on their craft and is debuting their sonic vocabulary. I don't know.
Yeah. What do you?
Going back to recorded music, you talked about your side project, Black Pass, but you also have an album with Ty Segall.
It's true.
A side project called Wasted Shirt, which I really enjoyed that album. Is there going to be a continuation? So
Wasted Shirt 3, 2? Yeah, I think no, there is. We were talking about it.
There's not the cassettes, maybe.
There's no cassette. Oh my God, that was totally the opposite process. So with like my own stuff and with Lightning Bolt, we just jam, and then we try to like find something in the jams to make a song out of. With me and Ty, like I went there on day one, like we wrote the first song. On day two, we wrote the second song. It was just like it took us 7 days and we did 7 songs or 8 songs or something. We never jammed once. It was just sort of like, hey, you got a beat? And I was like, here's a beat. And then he'd do guitar, and then we'd like brainstorm some lyrics. So it was a completely different process. It was just kind of like, let's make a thing today and be done with it. And it was awesome. It was super fun. And he's really easy to work with. So
That's always the thing, isn't it? Like some artists overthink too much, and sometimes it'll take 3 years to get like just 7 songs put down. And others have a creative process where it's like, just do.
yeah.
From your experience,
Oh, yeah.
what's worked out the best for you?
Yeah, Ty Segall is not an overthinker at all. He was just like, at the end of our whole thing, like we would work till like 7 or 8, and then I would like on my way out, he'd be like setting up his next recording project because he was like working on some other thing at night, like just like making shit up all day, all night. But I don't know. Both processes are cool. I kind of like to do both myself. Like my solo project kind of began because I was frustrated on how long it took us to make songs sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just like, oh my God, songs are they're so easy. Like, let's just make some songs. Like here's 10. I just made them like yesterday or whatever. Like, how hard is it? But I think that's sort of why Lightning Bolt is what it is, or why our records, like we don't, maybe some people think some records are better than others. I'm sure they do. And I probably do too, but it's more in terms of sonic quality that a lot of times than song quality. But I mean, our stuff is really worked on. It's thought about. There's always sections of the record that's improvisational and off the cuff. But the origin of songs are all very like raw. I don't know. I'm very raw about the way I approach that stuff, and I'm fast. And then the bassist is very like, he goes deep. Like, I don't know, the bassist has a game out called Thumper. He has a video game out that's pretty rad, pretty wild to play. But it took him, it was him and then one other, it was like a programmer. He was the artist and he was a programmer. And I think it took them 7 years to make this game. And I remember looking at the game like 4 years or 3 years into the thing, and it was an entirely different game because they just like kept morphing it and mutating it. And it's the same things with songs. Like, I'm easier to please. I'm kind of like, this song's awesome, let's do it. And he's like, I don't know, I got to tweak it. We've had songs kind of fall by the wayside because he was like, I can't figure it out. And then and we've mutated songs so far from their origin that like they're completely different songs. And then I've actually like sometimes I'll play him like the old song and he's be like, that's cool, what's that? I'm like, that's an entirely unrecognizable original version of the song we play now.
That was already good then.
Yeah. Like there's a song like on a record, we have this record called Fantasy Empire, and I think the second song is called Over the River and Through the Hills or something. I don't remember. I named it, but I don't remember. And we play it, but I can't remember it. But that song was this other song called like Run Rabbit Run or something. And there's like YouTube clips of us playing this Run Rabbit Run. There's YouTube clips of us playing this song. And then it just like completely morphed into this other thing. And then like recently I was just like, hey man, we should like play the original song. It's like a really cool song that like you got distracted on. Just we went somewhere else. But yeah, and somewhere between the two of us we get shit done, but it's a slow process for us.
What's been the funniest reaction from a family member listening to your music, like reacting to either your show or a CD or an album that you gave them?
A family member.
Yeah. Or a friend.
My wife used to fall asleep like right above where we practiced, which is pretty funny. And I remember a friend like bringing his little kid to the show, and his kid fell asleep. So my family, like, they don't get very deep. The funniest reaction is like, "Thanks for the CD, son." Put it on the shelf.
Where do I play it?
Yeah, I don't know. They don't, they enjoy that I'm doing this, but
Yeah.
they're not like, "Man, the bridge in song number 3 was just amazing."
What about? I mean, what's Rhode Island like, and what?
It's just like Barcelona.
Well, yeah, you're an island. You've got water.
Yeah.
But I mean, was it an ideal place for a project like Lightning Bolt to come to fruition? Was it like really boring in the sense that made you be extra creative and find an outlet like this, or is there a scene in Rhode Island that kind of nurtured this?
I mean, we're heading into our, we're like approaching our 30th year. So we've seen, I don't know, like there's been eras come and go in Providence. So when we started, we both went to art school there. And there was kind of a music scene in the town of these kind of freaks, like local freak scene, kind of this like rock and roll scene. And we went to some of the shows, and it was pretty cool, but there, it wasn't a huge scene, and I didn't really know what was going on. We started our first practices were just in the art school, like band room. And we were just bored and having fun, I guess. But then Providence, I got there in the early 90s, and by the mid 90s, it really became like from the mid 90s to the early 2000s, it was like it had a heyday. And so shortly after we started, like a lot of music started happening, and like these amazing spaces kind of started happening. And I think our volume, like our ability to like turn it up, was sort of like hinged around the fact that Providence had these huge old mill buildings. And so for years, and even today, I still have like a space and then a huge old mill building. So we were able to practice behind like 2-foot thick walls.
Wow.
And that's kind of a thing. And Providence had a lot of loud bands. And I think a lot of it was because it was like a cheap city where you could rent space in these places and not be around people and just be like super fucking loud. And so it had a scene. It had kind of an identity as a place with that sort of stuff. It's a little less so now. Like that was an era, and then there's been other eras. But there's always a mixing of like there's always art school kids coming in. And so there's always sort of a mix of this kind of like art school meets whatever Providence people mash up.
Yeah.
But it's changing. Like every city that I know of, it's becoming more expensive. It's hard to find space, hard to live. So it's like you really got to go. You're not going to find the freedom that you used to have in Providence or any city that I can think of, unless you're like in the States and the Midwest, some cities. But it's all over.
Yeah,
creativity is over. There is only content. There's just enough space and time to make some content.
Like we're doing right
Like
here.
we're doing
Yeah.
right now.
This is what we do.
Content, infinite content.
Talking about creativity and art school, you're a comic artist and now a graphic designer too. Have you checked the flat stock market on the entrance with all the geek posters?
I have not.
Oh, it's a must for you now.
I'm excited to walk around. We were in Madrid earlier, and we drove in, and we played like 3 a.m, and I'm just like, what do I do? Like go to bed for a little while? So I don't know what. Tomorrow we have
And
a
you're
day
here
off,
now.
and I'm here now.
And you have a day off in Barcelona.
Yeah. So tomorrow we're off, but I think I'll go to bed at like 6 and then sleep.
Yeah.
And then we catch a plane at like 4 a.m. tomorrow night to go to Germany for another fest.
But I think you're playing on Monday too here.
Yeah, and then we come back.
Wow.
Oh. Primavera la Ciudad. You're doing a double.
Sala
Doing
Bóveda.
a double.
In the Bóveda. Tell him about Bóveda, Sergi.
No, it's a kind of a metal venue, like hard rock venue.
Okay. Like smaller, right? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
Quite middle.
middle size.
So it's good. You get the massive festival kind of crowd experience tonight, and then you get the Monday night cozy thing. Germany coming back. I thought all the artists playing twice just got to hang out all week on Primavera
Well,
Sound's expense account.
I mean, pretty much we could have, but like this fest offered us a bunch of money, and we were like,
you
man.
can't say no.
It's hard to say no.
You gotta make money.
Our whole plan was we would just be hanging out in Barcelona, and we just shot ourselves in the foot with that plan.
Yeah.
It's over.
But is it Rock am Ring, the one you're going to? Because I think it's
We're going to
this weekend.
Moors Fest.
Oh, okay.
Moer. But
Oh.
apparently there's like they're a little worried because right next to the venue or the outdoor concert space, like there's a petting zoo.
Oh.
And like the alpaca just had a baby.
Oh.
So they're like a little worried about the sound because the alpaca.
You cannot wake the alpaca.
The
Yeah, so I'm
vibrations.
just like I mean, you really want us to come?
But
we- We had a problem like Madrid last night. We had a problem with the venue got moved at the last minute, and we get in there and it's just this classic like 102 dB level sound limit, like super low for us. Like the drums with no amplification were 105.
Oh.
And so it was kind of a shit show. And it was fun. We got through it. Like couldn't hear the bass, but so yeah, I'm a little worried about the alpaca.
You can make a lullaby show.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
If only we could do that, you know. We're just not good at that.
The Lightning Bolt Christmas Lullaby album or something like that. But that's, you were talking about like gentrification and, how creativity is being suffocated by
Fucking
high rent
alpacas.
prices and alpacas. And
Germany.
and playing in city venues, there's all this like sound. The sound, the volume permits keep going lower and lower because the voting neighbors, etc.
Yeah.
Is it? And I'm going to pair that with a question like, do you think rock and roll is dying because of what everyone says in the media that now everything has to be beat driven with computers and digital? What's your take on that?
I don't know. I don't really pay attention. This is my disclaimer for everything. Is like I have a 5-year-old now, so I'm just like, I don't know. We listen to rock and roll all the time. I don't. It's like I'm in another dimension. Like I don't know what's going on, but it seems kind of dead at times because it's like there's definitely a lot of electronic music and people are in their house more, like making their thing, and people are isolated more, making their thing. And I'm part of that. Like I have a solo project. It just happens to be like I'm a drummer, so it happens to be drums. But I think a lot of people are still into making music and learning instruments. And I'm sure it'll be like, it'll go one way and then it'll go back the other way. Yeah, the pendulum swings. So we'll see.
Yeah, in fact, yesterday we had playing here the Linda Lindas. Which is,
The Linda Lindas, like the
the
youngest,
Linda Lindas.
the youngest one is 11 years old.
Are you
and
serious?
They
Yeah.
rock out, man. They're incredible.
That's awesome.
And it's like, okay, the future, if it's in their hands and there's more bands like this, it'll be cool. There'll be a bit of everything.
Yeah.
Nothing
Yeah.
has to die.
Yeah, they'll inspire like a huge, crazy generation of. And there's bands like that. I mean, there's like in Providence, there's like this girls' rock school or camp or something where there's like Linda Linda's, just like a dozen of them in there just rocking out. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, I don't know. Space is important for bands. So if space is limited, it's a problem.
So, Brian Chippendale, I have to say goodbye to you. But thank you for coming here to chat a little bit with us.
Oh yeah, thanks for having
I
me.
hope you had a good time.
It was awesome.
And don't miss them Lightning Ball at Wigo Stage at 3 in the morning. And if you miss them, on Monday at Sala Bóveda. Thank you for coming.
Cool. To everybody,
you,
take
Brian.
a nap.
Everyone.
Take a nap at midnight. See you later.
Give it up for Brian Chippendale from Lightning Bolt.
RPS. Live from Primavera Sound 2022. Proudly presented by Cupra.